I never thought a simple text could spiral into the kind of chaos that makes you question everything about the person you thought you knew. My name is Kevin, I'm 36, and I always believed I had a solid marriage with Emily. We'd been married for 9 years, together for over 12, and I thought I knew her inside out. We had our ups and downs, sure, but I never imagined that one night could completely shatter that illusion. It was just another Thursday evening. The kind of Thursday where the week drags its feet, and you're already counting down the hours until Friday. Emily texted me late, much later than usual. That wasn't entirely strange, she sometimes stayed late at work. But the text itself felt off. Something in the timing, or maybe the way it read, set off a subtle alarm in my chest. Her message was simple: stuck at a work dinner, probably home late. Don't wait up. I paused before replying. Normally, I wouldn't overthink a text like this. We've had dinners canceled last minute, meetings that ran long, clients who demanded extra attention. But tonight the phrasing felt distant. There was no warmth, no casual remark. Just cold efficiency. I replied almost automatically, "That's odd. Your boss's wife just asked about you both tonight." I hit send and immediately regretted it. Not because I thought I was accusing her or overstepping, but because I knew, deep down, that her response would tell me more than I was ready to hear. Minutes passed, each one stretching longer than the last. My mind raced with possibilities. Was it innocent? Maybe she forgot to mention the dinner. Maybe her boss's wife genuinely wanted to know. Or maybe something else was happening. Her reply finally came, terse and clipped. "Yeah, we talked briefly. Nothing major. Nothing major." Those 3 words hit me harder than any screaming match, any accusation, any fight we'd ever had. The casual tone, the nonchalance, it felt like a wall had gone up between us overnight. I tried to shrug it off, telling myself I was reading too much into it, that I was letting paranoia creep in. But the seed had been planted, and once it's in your head, it doesn't just disappear. I couldn't stop thinking about the dynamics of her dinner, the presence of her boss, the wife, and the subtle implications of their curiosity. Questions kept looping in my head. Why would her boss's wife ask about us? Was she fishing for something? Was Emily hiding something? I felt a pit form in my stomach, the kind that grows heavier with every passing thought, gnawing at the confidence I had in our relationship. By the time I got home, I couldn't wait any longer. I knew I needed to see her, to confront the growing unease before it became something unmanageable. When Emily walked in, I noticed immediately that she wasn't her usual self. There was a slight hesitation in her step, a stiffness in her smile, the kind of subtle cues that speak louder than words. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Long night." She shrugged, barely meeting my eyes. "Yeah, the dinner ran late." I took a deep breath. "You know, I didn't mean to pry, but it just seemed odd. Your boss's wife asked about you both tonight. I just wanted to check." She froze for a moment, and I saw it in her expression. A flicker of discomfort, a hesitation that didn't belong. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, as if deciding what version of the truth to deliver. "Oh, yeah. Just casual conversation," she said finally, her voice light but strained. The words didn't land as intended. The casual tone was a mask, a veneer that barely concealed something beneath. I felt it immediately. A cold unease crept along my spine. It wasn't about distrust, not entirely, it was about recognition. Recognition that something in our marriage was shifting, imperceptibly but irrevocably. I tried to let it go, but the evening only grew heavier. Every gesture, every glance, every pause in conversation carried weight. I kept replaying her text, the casual mention of her boss's wife, and the subtle disconnect in her behavior. The more I observed, the more I realized that this wasn't about one dinner. This was a pattern, a signal, a red flag that perhaps I had ignored for too long. Finally, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I needed clarity, a line of communication stripped of pretense. "Emily, we need to talk." "Really talk," I said, my voice steady but edged with tension. She looked at me then, eyes narrowing slightly, a defensive posture creeping into her shoulders. "Talk about what?" she asked, trying to sound casual, but I could hear the underlying hesitation. "About us," I replied, stepping closer. "About trust, about honesty, about the little things that matter and the things you think I wouldn't notice." Her eyes darted away, and that was it. That small glance, the flicker of avoidance, was enough to send a jolt of reality crashing through me. For years, I had taken her word at face value, trusted her intentions, believed in the stability of what we had built. But in that moment, everything I thought I knew felt precarious. She exhaled slowly, the weight of the unspoken pressing down on the room. "Kevin, it's just dinner," she said softly, but the strain in her voice betrayed her words. Nothing to make a big deal out of. But I could feel it, the subtle tension, the hidden distance. It was there in the way she avoided my eyes, in the pauses between words, in the half-hearted explanations. I realized then that sometimes the smallest things reveal the biggest truths. A text, a glance, a fleeting hesitation. Those were the clues you couldn't ignore, the ones that told you someone was no longer fully present in your life. I wanted to believe she was innocent, that this was a misunderstanding. I wanted to reassure myself that nothing had changed. But the combination of her text, her demeanor, and that brief, telling hesitation painted a picture I couldn't unsee. And yet, despite the rising tension, I couldn't confront her outright, not yet. There's a subtle power in observation, in letting the evidence unfold before reaction. I watched, I listened, I absorbed every word, every silence. The truth, I knew, would reveal itself, not in confessions, not in explanations, but in actions. The night stretched on, filled with a quiet, unspoken tension that neither of us acknowledged but both of us felt. Every laugh, every clink of glass, every casual remark from the TV seemed to echo with the question, "What is really going on?" And that was when I realized something terrifying and undeniable. The foundations of trust aren't built in grand gestures. They crumble in the small, unnoticed moments, the texts, the glances, the casual mentions that carry weight far beyond the words themselves.